So the next talk that we have is coming from Rachel Bain, who's at the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, not MIT, but sorry, it's late in the week. She oversees sort of performance and evaluation of traffic systems, and will be talking to us about the data performance and management in transportation. So, Rachel, you want to go ahead and take it away?
All right, and you guys can see this? This is
Yes.
good? This is working? Awesome. All right. So the first thing I just wanted to do with this is kind of give you a sense of mass. Various assets. These are kind of the assets we're looking at, and some of them we are better versed in than others, and we can get to that. MassDOT is led by a Secretary of Transportation. She is a cabinet position of our governor. She's also the chair of the MassDOT Board of Directors. My office is a shared service with our transit, our biggest transit agency, the MBTA. Which is led by a general manager who's hired by the secretary, and you're getting a crash course on Massachusetts politics right now. So it gets a little bit dicey, but basically what it amounts to is we serve everybody. We have a highway division, a motor vehicles division, a rail and transit division, and an aeronautics division, and then a dotted line to, again, the Boston's biggest transit agency. We were created when we did transportation reform in the Commonwealth back in 2009, which took a whole bunch of disparate transportation agencies and smushed them all together. That's a technical term, under MassDOT. And so as part of that legislation, what they created was an Office of Performance Management and Innovation. And a lot of our charge was, set performance goals and measures, set targets, and track performance, and that's really evolved over the years. One of the key things is we really pulled the MBTA work in, the transit stuff. So now my staff is 50% MBTA, 50% MassDOT, and that gives us an opportunity to kind of cross-pollinate this analysis and tools and lessons learned from across divisions. So things that we're learning in transit, I can apply to motor vehicles and then maybe to the highway division. And you'll see some examples of that further in the presentation. So my office, OPMI, is I think fairly well positioned to kind of get basically the best of all of MassDOT and the MBTA and try to share it amongst all the other divisions. And basically what we are responsible for in a nutshell are these kind of, I would say, 4 big categories, and then we get pulled into other directions as well. But this is kind of the core of what we try to do, where we have a data collection and analysis role, a research and strategic partnerships role, business process improvement, and then data visualization and performance planning. Over the past couple of years, we've done much more on our own data collection in the form of survey work. And we've done a lot more on the data visualization in the form of dashboards and some other tools for operations. And that, I'll show you some of that. So I thought we would jump in to how we're using technology to report performance and kind of delve into what has become kind of a bread and butter business for us, which are the dashboards. This is a screenshot of an internal dashboard that back in February, when I took these screenshots and kind of got myself geared up for this, I had no idea how important this dashboard would be. This is our motor vehicles dashboard for, it's for an internal audience. It's their management dashboard. And what it shows is for the entire Registry of Motor Vehicles network, which are 29 retail branches, the volume of customers that day, and the percent of our customers that were waiting under 30 minutes, between 30 and 60 minutes, and over 60 minutes. Back in February, our motor vehicles division had been running a system that dated back to 1986. It was a COBOL era system called ALARS. On March 26th, a month later, they implemented a brand new system, and this dashboard has gotten a lot of play since then. Our customers are waiting a little bit longer than they were in this graphic. So, this dashboard kind of goes in and out of style internally. Sometimes it's like super, super important, and then sometimes it kind of fades to the background. And one of the ways we were able to deliver this and deliver it quickly is actually with the help of John Goodhue, who's on the call, and his team over at MGH PCC. It's been kind of a good sandbox for us to develop some tools kind of quick and dirty, and then see if they are going to kind of sustain themselves in the organization. So it's a good pilot space for us. This just goes more in depth. You can look at it by service center. So this is the Boston branch on February 27th of this year, and they were just knocking it out of the park. They were doing really well. And we can look at it by service type. So license ID renewal, registration renewal, things like that. These are all things that are critical for the motor vehicles division to look at on a daily basis. Our external dashboard is super exciting because it was actually born out of the previous one. That was internally facing, and we developed it ourselves without a lot of design. And then in the winter of 2015 here in Boston, it snowed just a tremendous amount. And it kept snowing and it kept snowing and it kept getting colder and colder. And it basically crippled the MBTA for about a month. And so lots of things came out of that. We ended up with a management control board, and we've ended up with all sorts of other organizational changes that came out of that winter. But what also came out of it is people all kind of looked around and said, we really don't know how the system's operating, and our customers in particular don't have any faith that we are reporting our data on a regular basis and accurately. So we built the MBTA Back on Track dashboard. It has a couple of key features. The most interesting is the reliability feature, which is this upper left square. It's the thing that changes every single day, and I'll kind of delve into it. Basically, you can look at the entire system, which was the slide before. Then you can look at, say, subways specifically, and look at how the subway performed on February 27th of 2018. And basically that is showing how long did a customer have to wait on the platform, across the whole subway network. And then you can go a little further in and you can look at it by the red line specifically. That's the next one. And then you can look at it by peak, and you can look at it by off peak. And so these are kind of the different ways that you as a customer could play with the data yourself, and look into it and determine, did you really wait a long time that day? Was that an outlier day? Is it consistently poor performing, or is it, we just had a bad day? And this is probably the most used part of that Back on Track dashboard by the public, and actually internally. Internally, people are using this every day too, because it's a really quick way to see how the system performed the day before. Okay, so this gets slightly more interesting. So this is where we really lean on MGH-PCC and John's team. We have a relationship with MIT. We have a research contract with them, and one of the things that they've been developing over the past few years is an origin destination model for the MBTA. We don't have a fare collection system that is tap in, tap out like some other transit properties do. We have just tap in. So we've had to infer where you get out of the system. And so it's taken a while to do that. And but it's really important to know, where are people starting their trip, where are they ending their trip, especially when we're making service changes. So to help service planners test route changes, for example, cutting back a route or extending a route or removing a stop, we can see for any given stop or set of stops or routes how many people are using it as an origin, a transfer point, or a destination. And if a lot of people are using that stop as a destination, this tool lets them see where they're coming from, or if people are using the stop as their origin, where are they going. It also provides route summary information for service planners to see how the route performs in terms of our service delivery metrics. And our data sources for this are basically GTFS, which are stops and routes, or our origin destination and transfer model, and then the service delivery policy performance measures. And you can kind of see how it works in a little video here, hopefully. It just shows the different way that we can make a selection. The data in this example is sample only, although since we put this together, we have now real data in the research server that's supporting this. Okay. So I think that was the end of that. I'll move on. This one basically shows, where people go from the selected stops. You can look at it from a couple of different perspectives: the cluster, the TAS, or the stop. We are also in partnership with Waze, and this is maybe the best example of why my office. I like the fact that my office is positioned between kind of the public transit part of our work and the highway and motor vehicles part of our work. We got into the partnership with Waze mostly to support the highway division and their highway operations needs. But my team is kind of heavy on the transit planner background. So they were looking at the MBTA bus network with our bus operations team, and realized that we have real-time bus information. We know where our buses are, but what was happening is the dispatchers didn't know where some of the holdups would be. Some of the I don't remember what Waze calls them. I think they call it basically like jams, traffic jams. So what we did is we took the Waze stuff that we were working with on the highway side, and we put it on a map with all of our bus stuff on the MBTA side, and we created this this merger of the Waze and the real-time bus data, so that we could give our dispatchers more information when they were making decisions. Try to redirect buses if they could see a traffic jam kind of up ahead. So that's been kind of an exciting partnership. And that kind of shows how that works, where the little triangles are our buses. And you can kind of see where some of the jams are in those little exclamation points. And then another tool that we've been kind of developing for operations, and that's what I try to do the most in this office, is we try to look at the data that we have and figure out how to best help our operation improve their performance. And that's kind of the performance management angle to all of this. This is a tool we built to visualize our green line vehicle locations in real time. Previously, what was happening is dispatchers would radio the operators to get their locations. And most of our green line, which is the oldest line in transit in the United States, I believe, and acts like it in Boston, it certainly still acts like it. They were running all of this on paper. So they would radio in, the dispatcher would write something down. They trying to make a decision about how much to space the trains in between, because we have a bunch of different lines that the green line is working with. And so we put a viewer together using the real-time data that we had available to us. And what we were hoping is that this information would help manage the spacing between green line trains and and help make dispatching decisions. Hold trains, send additional trains to help out, help even out the headways. And so what we did is we used MBTA's own real-time API to build this, again, it's just a prototype. And what has happened since is we've actually put this out as an RFR. It's actually gone to production. So it was great to build this as a prototype tool, actually get it into the field for testing, see if people liked it, and then take all of that information that we learned from that pilot, and then actually build all of that information into a production level tool, which was that's pretty exciting. Other stuff we do. We do surveys. So this is our MBTA customer opinion panel survey. We put out a customer opinion survey every single month. And again, this is just another big set of data that we're using now to try to drive some of the decisions, particularly from the new general manager who's very focused on customer experience. This is our motor vehicle survey, which was a little less popular than the MBTA, but again, especially going into a technology change as they just have, this was kind of critical information for them to have to make operational decisions. We are responsible for a lot of just still paper reporting, which is a business I'm trying to get out of, both through the use of dashboards, but also trying to consider how we shared information, not necessarily data, but information with our public in a way that makes sense to them in kind of the current climate. So these big paper reports, I'd like to get rid of as much as possible, while still giving both our internal customers what they need to manage their business, and our external customers as much information about our system as they need to feel well informed. And this is just another example. This is our annual report tracker. And then I usually end all my presentations with this, because this is what my staff comes in and says to me. They knock on my door and say, we did a thing, and say, okay, what was it? And my favorite thing that they do is they maintain a data blog. And you can find that through our Back on Track, our MBTA Back on Track dashboard. And it basically just shows all of the research and the data analysis and what we are thinking and what we are doing. It's definitely not one of those like good news, organizational blogs. This is real geeky stuff. So they love maintaining it, and it gives kind of an insight into our process, and when we're trying to figure out like how to look at how to look at data and how we're going to work with it, and when we get something wrong. That's been another interesting thing. When we've gotten something wrong, we try to explain it there. We screwed up this analysis, and this is how we fixed it, and and we get some feedback from the public on that, which is great. And that's it.
That's very cool. Um, Interesting. I like the idea of sort of the feedback blog being, you know, the honest one, not the PR one that many places have. So I like that idea. Anyway, why don't I go ahead and just go around, see if there are any questions, Rachel today, and if not, then I've got a couple of questions maybe to join the two together. I think we're running late in the day, so.
Yeah, well, my earlier question, this is John, was a little bit of a setup for Rachel, because in the 4 years that I've known her, the state government has transitioned from prove why I should release my data to prove why I shouldn't release my data as the mantra, starting with the governor. And if there's time, kind of talking about that experience would, I think, be of interest.
Yeah, I think that might be a good way to go. I was also going to put on there, because I know Austin and Boston share more than just, you know, a similar sound. We have good universities that do interesting things and a lot of interesting people sort of in the community. And I know here, part of, you know, some of the data that have been released have been taken on. For example, you know, somebody got ahead of Capital Metro here building our bus application and just did it themselves one day because they were bored. You know, and so opening data up and making it shareable, you know, I always think is a good thing. So what are the pitfalls and what should we be doing to try and encourage more of that, as well as some of the maybe even cross-pollination of tools, dashboards, and ideas between cities? So Rachel or Jen, anybody have anything to contribute?
This is Jen. I'm interested to hear what Rachel has to say. As far as how we share information with other cities, it's, at least in the transportation world, it's transportation agency to transportation agency. So we participate in the National Association of City Transportation Officials, which is a pretty progressive organization that's interested in topics like these, although is more, or probably less technical folks than need to be involved. And then Transportation for America has a Smart Cities Collaborative that I've started participating in. There's this kind of things definitely of interest. I know there is some get together at Harvard in the near future that one of our staff was going to that was more general beyond transportation. But yeah, I'm curious what thoughts you have, Rachel, or how you share information. I guess one final one I'll mention is Metro Lab Network that we've been involved in, which is more general. It's just city-university partnerships on smart city topics. That's been a great place to kind of share across domains, but always looking for ideas.
Sure. I think we take a lot of advantage of TRB as well, the Transportation Research Board. And so my staff in particular is pretty active, both on panels and NCHRP kind of research and writing their own papers and presenting every year. And that's been a really good avenue for us, just generally for information sharing and meeting people. And, you know, like we've presented on the Back on Track dashboard at the annual meeting before, and then, you know, we get, you know, WMATA's down there and they're saying like, how did you do this? Like, can we talk about the design of it? You know, and so that's been probably our biggest go-to for that kind of sharing. In terms of more broadly, just sharing data and maybe hitting on John's question, you know, the legal and security constraints on this data publishing and sharing. I've probably in the beginning of this, and John probably knows this well, I was probably a little rogue, where I was just like, let's just put it somewhere, let's put it out there, let's get it out there and let's share it. And at various points we've had a lot of kind of administrative support for that. And then people get spooked. I've kind of fallen into this idea where we were doing a lot of like hackathons and data challenges and things like that, which were great, but we were getting kind of a particular type of analysis, and usually not analysis. It was like somebody wanted to build a tool for us, or somebody wanted to build an app for us, and that was great, but it ultimately wasn't what we were looking for. So when we decided to share data on Back on Track, we wanted to like kind of a simple data download. We didn't want it to be just the API. Like the API will attract a kind of developer and data person, but we wanted to kind of democratize it a little bit and say, like, if you just wanted to play with the data and you don't know how to handle an API, we want you to just be able to download it into like a CSV file and go to town. Like, tell us what you're finding, see what's interesting. And we've found that that's been great. And so we're trying to offer data to the public in a couple of different formats than I think we did in the beginning, which was very developer heavy.
Very cool. Last little question here. I don't know if I've got one from John Clary saying, awesome work. Wonder what technology stack you're using for your dashboards. Maybe we can talk offline. For Rachel.
Yes, I'll definitely have to talk offline because I have no idea, but I'm happy to find out. What I can tell you very quickly is that the dashboard is powered by a data warehouse that we've built over the past 4 years with a lot of the transit data. And in terms of all the other specs associated with that, I can definitely share that.
No, I think that'd be interesting. It might be something that'd be kind of cool to do is bridging across these, because stealing each other's software is the best way to make these interoperability things work, I find. I'm coming from astronomy where there is no value to the data, so we stole a lot of each other's software. So anyway, well, if there's anything else, then I will say happy weekend, everyone.